Hey everybody, welcome to Dulcimerica. My name is Bing Futch. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm here in Woodburn, Indiana at the home of Folkcraft Instruments. Now we go back a ways, 1994 to be exact, when I moved to Florida and discovered this mountain dulcimer builder at Walt Disney World's old Disney Village marketplace. Started working for them, and many years later, 2008, current owner of the company, Richard Ash, reached out to me and said, we would love for you to be an endorsing artist with Folkcraft, and the rest is history. Let's go inside and have a look at all the cool stuff going on inside this building.
Folkcraft has been making mountain dulcimers since 1968. We're coming up on our 50th anniversary next year. In 1968, Howard Rugg and his brother Michael Rugg started making mountain dulcimers in Felton, California, Northern California. And the oldest part of our company, Folk Roots, is directly descended from Howard and Michael's earliest company, the Capritoris Dulcimer Company. In 1974, in Linden, Vermont, David Marks, a school teacher out there, started making mountain dulcimers. A year or two later, he stopped working in the schools and went into dulcimer making full-time as Folkcraft Instruments. In 1989, the Folk Roots guys retired. This would be Howard Rugg and his associates at this point. Retired from making dulcimers, sold Folk Roots to Folkcraft, so Folkcraft bought Folk Roots, moved everything Folk Roots from California over to Connecticut, where Folkcraft and Folk Roots were all the same company under the name Folkcraft Instruments. Back in 2007, David Marks, the founder of Folkcraft back in 1974, retired from making instruments, and I bought the company from him and promptly moved it to Indiana. So since January of 2007, Folkcraft Instruments, which includes Folk Roots Dulcimers, has been located in Woodburn, Indiana, and that's where we are now. We're in the showroom here. So I'm going to take you back and walk you through the steps, the processes we use for making an instrument. And let's start back in our wood storage area. Here's a piece of walnut. It's 8/4 of an inch thick. And this particular piece is nice and big and wide. Let's see. This particular piece is about 15 inches wide. And normally we get our planks of wood 10, 12, 15 feet long. This is a pretty short one. I think we used a piece off of the end of it already. This is barely 8 feet long with what's left. Walnut is one of those trees, it's hard to get good, clear, big pieces anymore. So we're lucky to get a piece that is 8 or 10 inches wide. And this 15-inch wide piece is very unusual. We're saving that for something special. We have some ash. We don't do a lot of dulcimers out of ash, but ash makes some beautiful fixtures and some beautiful stands for things. And the occasional psaltery and the occasional dulcimer, but we don't do a ton of ash. Down here we have some African mahogany, also in the 8/4 wood. Mahogany trees evidently are really big because we don't have any problem getting 10, 12, 15-inch wide pieces of mahogany. So that's an import from Africa. Then if you come up a couple shelves up from there, we end up with some Eastern red cedar. I'll pull a piece out so you can see it. This is the stuff. I'll set it down here on the ash so we can get the light in there. This is the stuff. It's full of knots, it's full of splits, it's full of shacks. Eastern red cedar, you can't smell it on the camera, but this is the stuff they make cedar closets out of. The aromatic cedar, it's called sometimes. It smells good. You start sanding it though, and after about 20 or 30 minutes of sanding it, you've got this cloud of dust in the air. And it smells good for about a minute and a half. Then you almost start gagging on it because the smell is so strong. It's aromatic cedar, keeps the bugs out. But it's good stuff, makes for a beautiful top. We have about 20 different species of wood that we work with. partly domestic, that is from the United States, partly imports, a lot of African woods and South American woods. I'll just go through some side sets I had sitting here on the table. We've got a beautiful piece of maple. Maple, of course, is pretty white. We use mostly Canadian maple or upstate New York maple. Got a piece here. It's a piece of curly Claro walnut, C-L-A-R-O. It's a hybrid between black walnut and English walnut. Just a beautiful piece of wood. And this looks like another piece of Claro walnut. It's kind of plain looking. This one has beautiful figure to it. This is what they call sycamore. And you think if you've ever had a sycamore tree in your yard, you've got those seed balls that are constantly falling down, you've got branches that are constantly falling off as it regenerates. Kind of a messy tree, but it's a beautiful, tall, great shade tree. But the lumber of the sycamore is just utterly amazing. This reddish orangish one, this is called Paduke, P-A-D-A-U-K. You can remember that like the song, Paduke, 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 Paducah, Viril. But anyway, it's kind of silly, but now you'll never forget it. Paduke looks beautiful, sounds a lot like walnut, but it's got a lot of color to it and makes it very interesting. Then the last sample I'm going to show you here, this is a piece of purple heart. And you cut open the tree, it's bright purple on the inside. This is the natural color of the wood. This is not a stain or a dye. This is purple. The wood is purple. It's kind of neat. Purple heart's pretty dense. It's heavy. I wouldn't necessarily use it for the top of an instrument, but for the back and for the sides. It looks great and it sounds great, and especially paired with something like Sitka, it makes a really good sounding instrument. So now let's go back to the shop. Let's show you what's going on there. The first thing we do is bring those big planks in here to the arm saw and cut them to rough length. If we're making mountain dulcimer, we need a piece about 33 inches long or so. So we start cutting the pieces to a rough length of 32 or 33 inches, somewhere in there. So this is our big bandsaw. Here's a replacement blade for the bandsaw hanging here on the wall. It's a rather large blade that is expensive to operate and expensive to buy, but it sure cuts fast and does a great job. So we'll take this bandsaw and these 32 or 33 inch pieces of 8-quarter lumber, run it through the bandsaw and make slices. And we can get a half a dozen slices out of a piece of wood that's 8/4 of an inch thick. We'll take those slices and we'll come over here to the belt sander. And we set the material here. The conveyor pulls the wood across the sanding belt. And with just a few passes, we can take the wood that's been cut on the big bandsaw and smooth it out and make our nice 1/8 inch thick pieces, tops and backs and sides, that are perfectly flat and perfectly smooth. We work on about 5 instruments at a time. We have carts that we have parts for making 5 instruments. In this case, we have, here's a back, sanded to 1/8 of an inch on the belt sander I just showed you. Here's another back with an ebony strip glued into the middle. Here's a top that's had the classic F sound holes cut into it. And here's a head. So this is going to be a Folkcraft custom dulcimer. So we've got a mahogany back and sides and a spruce top. Then we've got an ebony veneer on top of the head, about 1/8 of an inch thick, glued on very nicely. And the only other part that we prepped ahead of time, of course, are the sides. So we've got the head block, the tail block, and the sides. Then we'll go through and actually assemble all these parts into making a finished instrument. So it won't be long. That instrument will look a lot like this. We've got top and sides and head and back all glued together. Of course, it's not shaped like a dulcimer, but you can see the bent sides in there. We'll trim those down and sand them down and make them all finished. But this instrument is very, very nearly complete at this point. As far as building it, anyway. We still have to do all the hand sanding, all the lacquering, all the rubbing out. Then we have to have with strings and hardware and set it up and make it play right. But the build is practically finished on that one. One of the things that really fascinates people about the shop is how do we bend the sides. People imagine all kinds of fancy steaming tools and bending tools and forms and jigs and fixtures. But we have 3 different generations of side bending tools here in the shop. These 2 tools were made in the shop, made in the Folkcraft shop, Actually, they were made in the Folk Roots shop in Felton in 1972. They have forms that are shaped the side shape we're trying to get, in this case an hourglass shape. So we put two sides in, put the form down, and bend them to shape while we have heat applied here. These two sides have heating elements, top and bottom, that are salvaged from waffle iron parts that Howard, one of the founders of Folk Roots, got from the Salvation Army surplus store in Santa Cruz, California. So we have sanders for everything, power tools and stationary tools. But of course, the most important sander we have would be the person. In this case, my dad, Jim Ash, sitting here sanding a fretboard. After an instrument comes out of the lacquer area, it feels like this. It looks good, feels good, but if you listen very carefully, it's got some texture to it. And one of the things that we do with the rubbing out, can I have this, Bonnie? Mm-hmm. One of the things we do with rubbing out is that steel wool and smooth out so it feels like glass. It feels really good. So not only have we rounded the corners, made it feel good, look good, lightens up that lacquer, probably helps it sound a little bit, and we end up with, sorry, go back to what you're doing. Yeah. But yeah, that ends up with an instrument that feels good to a person's hands. And we can spend an hour or more on the rub out stage trying to make it just right. And is there money well spent, time well spent? Absolutely, because we end up with a superior instrument. Something that we can do with our instruments that a lot of people can't do or don't want to take the time to do. So after we rub out an instrument, it comes over here to the stringing workbench. We apply the strings and the hardware, the nuts and the bridges, and then start working on leveling things and making everything play as beautifully as we can, and working on setting up the nut and bridge for a great tone quality as well. There's a whole lot of detail in a nut and a bridge, the way it's slotted, that affects the intonation and the sound quality. And that takes a fine ear to hear the differences. But when we get an instrument in somebody's hands and they play it, they give it that strum for the first time, and the voice jumps out, they're hearing the setup of the nut, the setup of the bridge, and the choice of strings for that particular instrument. Now we're walking back towards our sewing area where we actually make the cases that go around our instruments. You can't have a great American-made instrument with a cheapo import case. So we started making our cases quite a while back, and we buy big rolls of fabric and lay it out and cut it out, and big sheets of foam and lay it out and cut it out, and we actually make finished cases here in-house. Let me show you our sewing room. So this is Pam, she's our head sewer, and she's making a case for Native American flutes / penny whistles right now. Mm-hmm. And it looks like that one's nearly ready.
Yeah, just about done.
This is Pam, she's been working here for a long time,
yeah.
many months. She's working on an old manual sewing machine rather than one of the fancy automated ones. But makes for real nice cases if we take the time to do it, just like the Dulcimers. So here's our sewing room.
Every time I come to the Folkcraft showroom, it is like going to the world's largest candy store for mountain dulcimer players. It's just so much fun to be here, and part of the fun is getting and taking instruments off the wall and just playing them, because every piece of wood has a story and every instrument has its own character, and it's really interesting. So what do we have here?
This is a Folkcraft FSH series mountain dulcimer, our least expensive full-size instrument. These start at $575, all solid woods. This particular instrument is set up with 3 strings and is made of African mahogany. This one's tuned DAD.
It's very, very pretty. Trying to think if I had an FSH at one point in time. I'm not sure if I had an FSH. I know I had a CSH for the longest time.
The Dulcimer in your collection that has all the signatures, the Cindy Lauper signature and all the other ones, that's a CSH. Same size body, made on the same side bender, 1980s, 1990s tools.
Right.
But that one's a CSH.
Yeah, back is lovely. Look at that.
Beautiful piece of mahogany on the back.
It really is.
All right, so let's step up from a smaller traditional body to a bigger, more contemporary body. It's half an inch deeper, it's about an inch wider. This one's made of Honduras mahogany for the back and sides, and Eastern red cedar, the aromatic cedar that has knots and splits and checks. We have to work real hard to get a good piece for the top. Purple Heart, fingerboard veneer and head inlay, contemporary head with all 4 tuners on one side, which is a nice touch for the player. They all turn the same direction. It's easy to keep things in tune. Anyway, bigger body is going to give it a bigger, richer, warmer sound.
Yeah. Very nice.
The side bender we used for that one was the 1970s version of the side bender, the one that Howard Rugg made for the Folk Roots Company back in the day.
Very cool. I love the Galax back. It makes such a big difference.
Gives you more sustain, a little bit more power, and everything just rings a little bit better. Staying with the same body, we've got the same shape exactly, but this one is a baritone dulcimer. It's tuned AEA. It's 4 notes lower than a standard DAD dulcimer. A little bit richer, a little bit warmer, and oh man, they're fun to play.
Yeah, they are. Whenever I'm on stage and break out the baritone after playing the standard for a while and just give it one strum, the audience goes, ooh. And this headstock shape, wasn't that originally a folk root shape?
Nope, that's a Folkcraft head. That's a head designed by David Marks,
Really?
probably back in the late 1970s.
Huh.
The very traditional, very guitar-like, and 2 tuners on each side. Looks good. Obviously holds its tune. The strings are nearly in a straight line, but it looks good and it's very classic, very traditional, compared to the Folkcraft Custom standard you were just playing,
Right.
where it's got all 4 tuners on one side. I kind of like the looks of the one that Bing's holding right now, but I like the functionality of this one. So my personal Dulcimer has the contemporary head. But anyway, so there's the modern head versus the traditional head. And while we're talking about heads, the other option, of course, is a scroll head, which is the old school head. That's what you'd see 150, 200 years ago on most Dulcimers. This particular instrument is made of Paduke. Remember that bright orange wood that we were talking about back in the shop? This is that wood, that Paduke body with a cherry top. And this one's strung up DAD, just like a standard Dulcimer, but this is a bass Dulcimer. It's an octave lower than a standard Dulcimer, so this is a really rich sound.
And you have to play it very carefully. It's not great for fiddle tunes, but it's awesome for laying down chord support and bass lines when you're jamming. Yeah.
Basses are fun, and if you play a standard, you can play bass with your club without having to learn anything new. That's not a bad thing either.
All right.
Speaking of new, this is new for Folkcraft in 2016. This is a Lapjo. LAP-JO stands for loud and played joyously. But this is a banjo mountain dulcimer hybrids. From here down to where the white skin head starts. Yeah, from here down to about here is 100% mountain dulcimer. From here down to the other end is 100% banjo. So we got the playability of a mountain dulcimer. Playability of a mountain dulcimer, then the bottom end, the round part, is 100% banjo where it generates the sound quality. So, mountain dulcimer banjo hybrid called a Lapjo.
For all you fans of Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride out there. Trip down memory lane. Well, I guess it's still at Disneyland. You can still hear that. They haven't taken that out of the ride yet.
That was Oh Susanna, wasn't it?
Yep.
How did that get into the Pirates rides?
When you start off the ride, you're in a Louisiana bayou, and before you drop into the waterfall caverns where all the pirates are, and so as you're cruising along, you hear this Oh Susanna being played on the banjo.
I need to get back out there and listen to this again. I wasn't paying attention last time. All right, here we have, speaking of hybrid instruments, this is a Resonator dulcimer. And Resonator has an aluminum cone in place of the vibrating body, which is underneath the shiny metal part here. That aluminum cone, which gives a very loud, metallic, potent sound. Boy, this is a loud instrument. This is not a sit on your porch and play sweet, gentle ballads because you want a quiet instrument. This one's got some voice. For the setup on this one, for the nut, right now the strings are set up pretty low, which means a person can play normal playing techniques, normal chords. But we also set up the nuts so the strings can go very high, a quarter inch off the fretboard or more, and a person can use a glass slide or a steel slide right across the fretboard and get that sound, which I'm sure you're going to get to hear in just a second. Contemporary head, but it's that resonator body that gives you that. Now, after you hear the demo on this one, I'll show you the instrument that we modeled this after.
And mine, I've got a Lapjo. I love playing it by the riverside when people are kayaking. I know it's completely wrong, but I still do it. And Folkcraft built one for me, a Resonator dulcimer, so I could go compete in the International Blues Challenge in 2015 and 2016. And I tell you, a lot of guitar players up and down Beale Street in Memphis were very, very eager to get their hands on this right here. Now, even though it's in the low setting, I'm still going to use a pedal steel bar, and you can still get a really, really nice slide action out of this.
sounds with that you can't get with a regular dulcimer. It's just not physically possible. But that instrument, the Lapjo, was modeled after this instrument, this particular instrument.
Wow, it's heavy.
It's a steel body. It's a very heavy instrument.
My goodness.
It's a 1936 National Duolian. It was my grandmother's.
That is too
And it's
cool.
been in the family ever since Grandma had it 80 years ago now.
I don't have a ring slide on me, but I could do, like some of the old blues players, just lay one of these on your lap and do it like this. I have no idea what I'm doing with the guitar now. Yeah, nice try, Bing.
On this particular instrument, the fretboard is set up so the action is nice and low. You can play it like a regular guitar,
Right.
but you get the metallic amplification of the resonator.
Man, it rumbles.
It's got power. I think this design of instrument predates widespread use of amplification, and this allowed the guitar to be louder so it could be heard in a performance.
Right.
So
That's
this
amazing.
is a national duolian. It's an early resonator. Then we go to old school again. No hybrids, no fanciness. It does have a pickup. This is a Druid Moon, also made by Folkcraft ukulele. This is a tenor model. Happens to be made out of birdseye maple all the way around with a rosewood fretboard and standard 4 strings G, C, E, A tuning. We're getting back to classic here.
We hope that you'll be coming back again, that you'll drop in and see us now and then. We don't pretend to just please with just the bare necessities. We hope that you'll be coming back again. Come again, thank you folks, come again, anytime. The welcome mat is always out, seeing you is fine. We hope that you'll be coming back again, that you'll drop in and see us now and then. We had such fun, we're gonna cry, we just can't bear to say goodbye. We hope that you'll be coming back again. Y'all come back here. Nice, nice, nice.
So that's most of our product line. We've got all the books and all the strings. We have some other instruments, the condolas and psalteries and cases that we make in-house. But that's the product line for the dulcimers and the ukuleles and all the specialty hybrid instruments. Some a little for everyone, I think.
That's it. That's it.
So now you've had a quick shop tour. Hopefully you had a good time, learned something, and have a deeper appreciation for how our instruments are built, the time, the labor it takes to make a nice one. Any questions? Give me a call, send me an email, message me on Facebook. Thanks for watching, folks. Richard Folkcraft Instruments, Woodburn, Indiana. The website, of course, is folkcraft.com.